알았어?
죄송합니다.
She's Korea's most enigmatic femme fatale in the gambling world. To swindle a wealthy man with assets worth billions of won, she and her team devised an elaborate scheme. Step 1. Use her stunning figure to captivate the tycoon's attention. Once the wealthy man was completely smitten, she began pulling away, using various excuses to create distance. Unable to bear the distance, the wealthy man hurried to seek her out.
아니 그럼 왜 못 나오는지 이유를 말해야 될 거 아니야.
그날
그래,
아니에요.
얘기해봐.
그날 화투 쳤어요.
화투?
When he learned she was keeping her distance because of gambling debts, he gallantly vowed to win the money back for her. Seizing the opportunity, the con artist lured him into a high-stakes gambling match. The next move? Find an unbeatable gambler to drain the wealthy man's fortune. But days of auditions yielded no one as skilled as Goni, her former lover and an ace in the gambling world. Months earlier, Haisu had her sights set on a retired general with a penchant for gambling, but she lacked a card shark capable of taking him down. With no other options, she sought help from Mr. Pyong, one of Korea's top 3 con artists. Hoping to partner with him, to her surprise, Mr. Pyong offered his protege, Goni, for the job, insisting he was the best. Haisu was stunned by Mr. Pyong's praise and decided to personally test Goni's skills.
내 매니큐어 무슨 색깔?
빨간색. 내 매니큐어는 이쁜데 하트는 못 칠 것 같은데? 손이 부드러워서?
잘하네.
타짜니까.
Though Mr. Pyong sent his protege Goni to the table, the entire match was controlled by Mr. Pyong's subtle cues. A nose rub meant fold, a lip touch signaled a raise, and a shoulder roll hinted at revealing the cards. Goni was astonished by their seamless coordination, yet this peculiar dynamic stirred unease in him. That night, after escorting Mr. Pyong back to his hotel, Goni knocked on Haisu's door, inviting her for a drink.
잠깐만.
As she put on her coat, Haisu suddenly realized the drink wasn't about alcohol, it was about Goni flaunting his charm.
난 술은 싫은데.
She confronted him with a sly comment, which made Goni pause. Moments later, they found themselves entwined in a passionate dance, a symbolic prelude to their deepening connection. For Haisu, this was more than a dance, it was a step toward pulling Goni into her plan. Before long, the day of the high-stakes match with the retired general arrived. With flawless teamwork, the trio quickly cleaned out the general's chips. Unwilling to accept defeat, the general upped the ante, offering his prized revolver as collateral for one last round.
받읍시다 까짓 거. 올려놔요.
Mr. Pyong noticed that Goni was following Haisu's advice. This deviation from the plan filled him with dread. If the general lost and reacted violently, Goni's life could be in danger. Sure enough, when the general lost, he immediately ordered his men to fetch the bodyguards from the second floor. To everyone's shock, the general's subordinates locked the bodyguards inside their room.
2층에 애들을 잠시 소리 내면 죽는다. 손가락도 까딱하지 마.
김수장 너 왜 그래?
장군님, 원래 등잔밑이 더 뜨거운 법이랍니다.
In that moment, Mr. Ping saw the truth. Hoishio's gambling match was a front, and he was just a pawn. Furious, he slapped Haisu and severed all ties with her. Throwing the revolver, Goni went into the lake to ensure his protege's safety. Determined to protect Goni, Mr. Pyong prepared to leave with him. As they reached the car, Haisu flung the door open, trying one last time to convince Goni to stay, but Goni chose loyalty and left with Mr. Pyong. At the train station, Mr. Pyong drew a knife and demanded Goni cut off a finger. Years earlier, Goni had sworn that if he earned more than 50 million won through deceit, he would retire immediately or sever a finger as penance for breaking his vow. A gambler's oath and a dangerous encounter. Realizing he had broken his vow, Goni headed to the restroom to carry out his punishment, but as the knife hovered over his finger, he hesitated, unable to harm himself, knowing that his body was a gift from his parents. Just then, a man in sunglasses appeared. With a knowing smirk, he remarked that Goni didn't have the nerve to go through with it. As if on cue, Goni set the knife down, unwilling to sever his finger. When Goni returned to Mr. Pyong, ready to explain himself, he noticed the sunglasses man taunting his mentor.
오늘이 그날인가?
좋은 날이 있겠지.
쫄기는.
That's when Mr. Pyong revealed the man's identity. Ague, Korea's most ruthless con artist. Seeing that Goni hadn't cut off his finger, Mr. Hyun understood his protégé's choice. He calmly retrieved his briefcase and gave Goni a final piece of advice before boarding the train.
정마담, 그 여자 예쁜 칼이야.
Just as he was about to step inside, Mr. Hyun turned back one last time, leaving Goni with words that lingered in his mind.
마지막 원칙, 이 바닥엔 영원한 친구도 원수도 없어.
Yet Goni couldn't comprehend their full meaning. He only knew he longed to return to Haisu and the extravagant lifestyle she offered. Back at Haisu's casino, business was booming. With Goni's help, the house raked in profits, leaving patrons broke and desperate. One day, a professor with a gambling addiction arrived, staking his child's hospital bills on a big game, but at a casino where luck rarely favors the players, he predictably lost it all. Distraught, the professor prepared to leave, dreading how he would face his family. To his shock, Goni returned the money he had lost, urging him to walk away. Just as the professor was about to leave, the sound of someone winning drew him back in. Driven by greedy desire, he decided to risk everything once again. Seeing this, Goni rushed to stop the professor, only to be intercepted by Haisu. Coldly, she reminded him, people who refuse to change don't deserve sympathy. One night, Goni received a chilling call. Mr. Hyun had been brutally murdered, his right hand severed in a horrifying act of violence. Piecing the events together, Goni realized that the most likely suspect was Ague, the ruthless con artist they had encountered before Mr. Hyun boarded the train. Filled with rage, Goni ordered Haisu to bring Ague to him so he could avenge his mentor, but Haisu knew that Ague was someone they couldn't afford to cross. Instead, she hired a private investigator to gather information, hoping to buy time and calm Goni's emotions. Days passed with no word from the detective. Then, during a routine night at the casino, Goni noticed something unusual about one of the players. His instincts were spot on. The man was a fellow swindler. For the first time in ages, Goni felt the thrill of a real challenge.
저 받으신다고? 에? 받으실 거예요? 좀 생각해보지. 네?
The player, Gwang Ryol, confidently revealed a pair of twos, certain of his victory, but Goni countered with a pair of fours, shattering Gwang Ryol's confidence. Just as Goni reached for his winnings, the sound of an alarm blared through the room. Outside, a swarm of police surrounded the building. As chaos erupted, the players barricaded the door. Buying time, Goni quickly planned his escape, scaling the building's exterior using the balcony railings. To his surprise, Gwang Ryol followed him, pleading to be taken along. Remembering his opponent's recent loss, Goni agreed, pulling him up onto the roof. Grateful for Goni's help, Gwang Ryol proposed a partnership, suggesting they sweep through Korea's casinos together. Uninterested in the partnership,
대한민국 인맥인데 좋은 말 해주면 뭐하나.
Goni asked one thing, "Can you help me find Ague?" Gwang Ryol smirked. "If you're unlucky enough, you'll definitely run into him." Thus began their unlikely alliance. Goni and Gwang Ryol began making their rounds in Korea's casino scene. One day, at a bustling underground casino in Seoul, Goni was stunned to see Musuk, the con artist who had swindled him years ago, now working as a dealer. Fueled by vengeance, Goni quickly read Musuk's dealing patterns and cleaned out the table, winning every bit of cash in play. When the casino boss, Mr. Kwon, learned that Goni had walked away with 2 billion won, he summoned him to the office. There, Kwon proposed a high-stakes match between Goni and his top gambler, Musuk. Goni knew that cheating in such a setting would be a death sentence, so he deliberately lost every round, until the 7th hand. Taking advantage of the moment while drinking his beer, Goni secretly hid a flower card in his hand. The moment Musuk's behavior turned suspicious, Goni sprang into action.
주머니로 손이 가! 이거 뭐야?
As the tension escalated, Goni pulled a knife from his waistband, threatening to use it unless he was compensated. Just then, a voice crackled over the casino's intercom. The police were on their way for a surprise inspection. Fearing further complications, Mr. Kwon agreed to let Goni leave with all the cash, but only on the condition that he return within 2 weeks for another match. Flush with cash, Goni and Gwang Ryol went to a bar to celebrate. It was there that Goni noticed the bar's stunning owner, Warren. Smitten, he decided to strike up a conversation, hoping to charm her. Their pleasant evening was interrupted by a knock at the door. The bartender, fearing a police raid, ushered Goni and Gwang Ryol into a back room to hide. But it wasn't the police. It was Mr. Kwon, who had been eyeing Warren for some time. Using the excuse of his bad mood after the casino loss, he demanded that she drink with him. Seeing Warren being harassed, Goni stepped out of hiding to confront Mr. Kwon. Standing his ground, Goni promised he wouldn't skip the rematch but only if Warren agreed to watch a movie with him first. Reluctantly, and with his eyes on the bigger prize of reclaiming his 2 billion won, Mr. Kwon agreed to Goni's terms, leaving in a huff. Goni's daring move won Warren's heart. The two began a passionate romance, indulging in the carefree, extravagant lifestyle Goni had always dreamed of. Unbeknownst to Goni, Haisu had tracked him down through a private investigator and discovered Warren's bar. She couldn't believe that Goni, a man of ambition, would settle for a quiet life here, determined to lure him back. She proposed a new job in Gunsan, targeting a billionaire with a fortune worth hundreds of billions. If Goni agreed to play as her gambler, she promised an even bigger reward than before. However, Goni declined, stating that he wasn't interested in money and simply wanted a peaceful life with Warren. Hearing this, Haisu felt a pang of jealousy and unease. Turning to Warren, she made a cutting remark before forcing a smile and leaving the bar.
연애는 할만해요? 이 사람 웬만한 여자 아니면 컨트롤하기 힘든데. 사랑이 컨트롤인가요 뭐. 잘 어울리네. 네, 안녕히 가세요.
Unwilling to let Goni go, Haisu devised a plan. She had the private investigator steal Goni's car, knowing the trunk contained all of his earnings. Without that cash, Goni wouldn't be able to join Mr. Kwon's rematch, leaving him with no choice but to return to her. But Haisu underestimated Goni's resourcefulness. Determined not to rely on Haisu, Goni approached Musuk, Mr. Kwon's house gambler. Goni offered him a deal, help him win against Mr. Kwon, and in return, he'd receive a 40% cut of the winnings. Seeing the lucrative potential, Musuk agreed. Together, they devised a plan. On the day of the match, Goni planned to bring a signal jammer to disrupt the surveillance cameras, while Gwaing Ryol would intentionally spill coffee on the table to eliminate the risk of Mr. Kwon poisoning it. With the usual underhanded tactics neutralized, Mr. Kwon was forced to rely solely on Musuk's skill, but Goni had anticipated everything. Every time Musuk sent him a strong hand, Goni countered with an identical one, forcing the match into a draw. According to the rules, draws doubled the stakes, pushing the pot higher and higher. Finally, Mr. Kwon received an incredible pair of nines, confident it was his winning hand. In response, Goni dramatically revealed a 5 billion won check tucked into his waistband and pushed it all in. Seeing Goni's audacious move, Mr. Kwon glanced at his cards and immediately sensed something was wrong.
한 끝? 이 돈 착한데 쓰겠습니다.
When the game ended, and Goni emerged victorious, Mr. Kwon, humiliated, asked if Goni would consider working for him. Goni refused without hesitation. After returning home, Mr. Kwon grew increasingly suspicious. How could Goni have been so aware of his tricks? The answer was clear. Someone on the inside had betrayed him. Determined to uncover the mole, he had Musuk kidnapped and tortured until he revealed the whereabouts of Goni and Gwaing Ryol. With this information in hand, Mr. Kwon dispatched assassins to take them out. Unaware of the danger, Goni was ambushed and stabbed in a vital area. Collapsing to the ground, Gwaing Ryol, who happened to be in the restroom, witnessed the attack and fled the scene, abandoning his partner. When Goni regained consciousness, he found himself locked inside a metal container alongside Musuk. Miraculously, the stash of cash tucked into his waistband had absorbed the blow, sparing him from a fatal injury. Determined to save Warren, who had been taken hostage, Goni gathered all his remaining cash and went to meet Mr. Kwon, intending to trade the money for her release. But Mr. Kwon dismissed the offer, claiming the money was already his and the deal was invalid. Desperate, Goni proposed an alternative. He would work for Mr. Kwon for 2 years, using his skills to earn him hundreds of billions. Intrigued by the offer, Mr. Kwon agreed and ordered Warren's release. On the way to the casino, Goni, sitting in the back seat, suddenly pulled out a pair of pliers and struck the driver, crushing his skull. The car veered out of control and careened off an overpass. The unbuckled Mr. Kwon was killed instantly upon impact, while Goni, shielded by the backpack strapped to his chest, survived with minor injuries. At Mr. Kwon's memorial, his loyal subordinates sought the help of the infamous con artist Ague, hoping he could track down Goni and exact revenge. Knowing Goni was Mr. Pyong's disciple, Ague agreed without hesitation. Meanwhile, Haisu successfully reeled in a wealthy tycoon. Each time the tycoon lost, she lent him back the money he had lost, allowing his debt to snowball. Desperate to recoup his losses, the tycoon decided to mortgage his real estate and secured a 6 billion won loan. Preparing for an all-or-nothing high-stakes game, but with Goni still missing, Haisu sent her private investigator, Raccoon, to find out what had happened to him.
현찰로들이요.
저기 그 아기 말인데
Raccoon's investigation revealed that Mr. Pyong had fallen from the train at Gangjong Station, but Ague had disembarked a station earlier, ruling him out as the killer. However, a witness had seen the true assailant, a man with a large gold tooth. Just then, Haisu's henchman delivered a 10 million won deposit to the table. At that moment, Raccoon noticed something startling. The henchman had a prominent gold tooth. The realization hit Raccoon like a bolt of lightning. Understanding the gravity of the situation, he declined the commission on the spot and vowed to keep his mouth shut. That evening, Haisu returned to her hotel to find Ague waiting for her. He demanded that she hand over Goni, or he would expose the truth of her scheme to the tycoon. Unwilling to risk losing everything, Haisu asked for time to consider. Ague followed her into her room, upping the stakes. If she gave him 50% of the profits, he would keep silent. Seeing Ague's greed and arrogance, Haisu calmly drew the revolver she had stashed away earlier and aimed it at the back of his head. Unmoved by the threat, Ague smirked and made a bold counteroffer. If she refused his terms, he would personally become the tycoon's gambler and take control of the game. To protect Goni, Haisu had no choice but to send Guang Ryal as the gambler for the life or death match. But disaster struck immediately. Ague caught Guang Ryal cheating in the very first round.
너는 첫 판부터 장난질이냐? 이 손바닥에 화투 한 장 붙어있다는 것에 내 돈 모두 하고 내 손 하나를 걸겠다. 너는 무엇을 걸래?
Lifting Guang Ryal's hand, Ague revealed a flower card hidden beneath his palm. Furious, he ordered his men to bring a hammer. It was then that Guang Ryal realized the man before him was none other than the infamous con artist, Ague. Moments later, news of Guang Ryal's maimed hand reached Goni. Knowing he couldn't stay hidden any longer, Goni resolved to face Ague himself. He met with Haisu, bringing everything he had, and prepared for a final showdown that would determine not only Guang Ryal's fate but also Warren's freedom. But Ague wasn't just any opponent. Beating him through fair play was nearly impossible. Goni devised a strategy. During Ague's turns, he would fold immediately, avoiding risk. On his own turns as dealer, Goni manipulated the deck, ensuring Ague and Haisu received low cards while he kept the stronger ones for himself.
마지막 한 장.
동작그만 밑장 빼기냐?
뭐야?
내 패하고 정마담 패를 밑에서 뺐지. 내가 빙다리 핫바지라 보이냐 이씨? 자 모두 잘 보쇼. 정마담한테 장땡을 쳐서 이 판을 끝내겠다. 이거 아니야?
시나리오 쓰고 있는 미친 새끼가
해머 갖고 와.
이렇게 피를 봐야겠어?
구라치다 걸리면 피 보는 거 안 배웠냐?
좋아.
알아?
알잖아, 아기가 혓바닥이 왜 이렇게 길어? 후달리냐?
후달려? 오냐 내 돈 못 하고 내 손모가 될 건가?
Soon, both of their right hands were tied up, and Ague confidently revealed the flower card hidden under his cup only to discover, to his shock, that the design was a cherry blossom. Ague froze, realizing he'd been outplayed. Furious, he ordered his men to smash Goni's hand, but Haisu's well-prepared bodyguards intervened, aiming a gun at Ague's head. Haisu revealed her plan. She intended to take all the money and leave safely. He had uncovered the truth about Mr. Hyung's death and Haisu's involvement in the scheme that led to it.
왜 죽였어?
나한테 소리치지 마!
Panicking, Haisu tried to calm Goni down, urging him to take the money and leave, promising to explain everything later. But Goni was done with betrayal and greed. In a shocking move, he poured a barrel of gasoline over the entire pile of cash and set it ablaze.
그러지 마! 그러지 마! 안 돼!
As flames consumed the money, Goni grabbed Guang Ryal and left the casino. Ague, still reeling from the cherry blossom trick, could only watch as his plans burned to ashes. Meanwhile, an enraged Haisu pursued Goni, shooting him in the shoulder before Raccoon arrived just in time to whisk them away to a nearby hospital. While Guang Ryal underwent surgery, Goni realized he could no longer drag his friends into his dangerous world. Quietly, he grabbed medical supplies and slipped away, boarding the last train to save Warren. In the train's restroom, Goni was treating his wound when Mr. Kwan's henchman, Ah Hui, appeared. Ah Hui stabbed Goni in the abdomen, but the wound wasn't fatal. Summoning his remaining strength, Goni fought back and managed to escape the restroom, luring Ah Hui to the train's emergency exit. Goni took him by surprise, tackling him as they both tumbled off the train. Later, the police arrived with Haisu to identify Goni's body. After confirming the corpse as Goni, the case was officially closed. But Haisu knew the truth: the man in the morgue wasn't Goni.
고니를 아냐고요?